Good afternoon, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube family. Thank you guys for joining me for Saturday afternoon edition of Back to the World, my brother's keeper. Okay, as we present Sonetquity and Billionaires Roundtable Conference. My name is Tony. Thank you guys for joining me. The music that you may hear in the background, we don't own the rights to. Okay? But if you have any comments, questions, anything that you care to share, man, hit me in the boxes down below. You know, I've been missing for a couple of days, man. Been traveling. And, you know, I'm glad any of you can join me if you see me on. Thank you. Thank you for coming on board. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. And you had an opportunity to spend time with family and friends. I know many of us, when you get our age, man, you know, quite a few people say, well, you know what, I don't celebrate Christmas. But, you know, if you have kids or grandkids, man, whether you are one that acknowledges Christmas or not, you're going to be caught up in the revelry. You're going to be caught up in the celebratory atmosphere. You know, because if you have grandkids that accept Christmas and enjoy Christmas, and the parents are buying them toys and gifts the whole bit, and then they come over to your house for dinner, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, you could, you know, if your grandchild or your nephew or your kid or whatever the situation may be says, hey, granddad, dad, or whatever, help me put my toy together. Okay, if your kid is asking you to help put the toy together, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's kind of hard. It's almost like breathing air. And you say, well, I don't breathe polluted air. You know, I don't allow people to smoke in my house. I don't allow people to smoke in my car. I don't do any of those things. But yet you live near an incinerator. And as soon as you come outside, you know, your lungs are being polluted. I mean, as soon as you walk into the middle of the streets and the whole bit, right? As soon as you come outside, you walk in the middle, you know, you're crossing a boulevard. All of these cars, man, that are there with all this pollution and everything. So it's kind of hard to say that you don't celebrate something, you don't acknowledge something, and the atmosphere is just permeated with it. Christmas is in the air, man. You know, even growing up, I've never been a big fan of Christmas, because I found out early on, man, who Santa really was. And when I found out who Santa really was, man, you know, I was like, shit, he wasn't gonna come to our house anyway, because we didn't have a chimney. We didn't have a chimney. We didn't even have a fireplace, man, to hang the little stockings and the whole bit. So all that shit was a farce, man. But, you know, it was good while it lasted. And if your young kids, man, if this is what they need, man, to, you know, to get along, man, because all of their peers and everything are going to feel a certain kind of way. Sometimes we don't want to take away that from the kids. You know, if they go to a Muslim school and what have you, then just about every one of their peers are going to feel the same way, and they're going to be teaching the same way. But if your kid goes to a public school and it's not a Jehovah's Witness school or anything like that, 99.9% of the time, the kids and everybody around, and even the teachers, they're going to celebrate Christmas. They're going to have the picture of the reindeer, Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, and the whole bit. So, man, if you can, try not to rob them of that moment. And I hear parents be like, well, I don't want to lie to my kids. You know, at some point or another, man, you're going to lie to those kids. But why rob them of something that they see everybody else having fun doing? And if I was Jehovah, or maybe if I was, a member of another religion that didn't celebrate Christmas, if I had grandkids or whatever, when they come over, man, I would have certain gifts. I could say it in the name of whatever I'm giving them the gifts for. But all they know, this is the time where gifts are being passed out. And if you don't want to hear them singing all of these Christmas songs and everything, Christmas classics and the whole nine, let that be the day you don't go around, man. Don't rob the kids, man. My dad, man, was number one about no bullshit. He was number one about no farce, man. He wasn't about lying to nobody. He was talking about, the black man and whitey. And the whole bit out of white man is pull the wool over our eyes and all this other shit. But reluctant, whatever, you can rest assured when Christmas time came, man, he was playing along with the gag, right along with my mom. Right? I can remember catching him one time putting something together, and I didn't know what it was. He tried to hurry up and slip it in the closet. He said our house wasn't but a rock's throw. You could shoot a marble from one door to the next, and you trying to hide some shit in the closet. I'm trying to see what that is, and lo and behold, presents. So, but my old man always wanted us to feel the experience. He always wanted us to feel the experience, man. And I thank him for that. There was so much that he shared with us. There was so much that he was trying to give to us. And then there were those that he wanted us to find it out on our own. He didn't want to take away everything. And he couldn't give us everything. Some things had to be found out by us. And we went through life doing that. I tell you, I truly miss it. This past holiday, this past Christmas, I spent it with my brother and his family. And growing up, man, my brothers and I, man, all of us were very close. We were very close. But it wasn't until, how we say, when I got into I had been off the porch. But it wasn't until I got in the streets. No, I didn't get in the streets. I got in the freeway. See, when I got in the freeway, the highway, my relationship didn't necessarily change with my brothers, or the love didn't necessarily change for my brother, but the dynamics of our relationship did. And because of the life that I was living, I stayed clear of them because I didn't want to bring any harm to their doorstep, right? And I tell you, we still function as a team. So, I was clandestine, man. I was cloaked in dagger. No one knew who I was related to. I was like the man from Uncle or whatever, or James Bond. Nobody knew who I was related to. And that's the way we moved back then. Right? But yet, I'm gonna go so far to say my brothers were a part of my operation, right? And it was a pretty fine operation. It was, and someone was let in that operation that was close to one of my brothers. And that's what led my brother to his demise, this particular brother. All right. And at that point, the family nucleus started to break. That was the chink in our armor. We practiced everything that my father preached. We celebrated it. We reveled in it. Holidays, family reunions, birthdays, Easter Sundays. We celebrated all of that, whether we believed in it or not. If you had kids and you were raising kids, this is what you wanted to do. Because I look at it as almost being a form of neglect, a form of child abuse. If you send your kids to school where everybody's picking a name and sharing gifts, but your kid is standing up in school and telling everybody, well, we don't believe in Christmas. See, that kid is repeating your mantra because that kid is obedient. But how does that kid feel when he sees everyone else passing out? Human nature is weird, right? He sees everyone else passing out gifts and choosing names. But yet he can't participate because he doesn't practice that particular religion. Okay?
Hello, Moto.
So he understands that he doesn't practice that religion, but he can't exercise those feelings of feeling neglected, feelings of neglect, feelings of being left out. The little guy Tommy that he plays with every day, Tommy picked the gift for Glenda, and Bobby picked Tommy's name, and all this is going around in circles in the whole bit, and everybody's happy, everybody's laughing, everybody's having a good time. And while they're exchanging gifts and they're unwrapping them in class, your kid is sitting there and he's bullshitting like he's coloring in a coloring book, right? What do you do? I'm gonna share something with you. And I know this is gonna sound like it's off, but I'm trying to make the correlation here. Right. When I was incarcerated, me and a group of guys used to work out together. And we'll spot each other. Everybody did their reps one after another, and we got things going. And now keep in mind, all of us are different shapes, sizes, height. You know what I mean? And we're doing our thing. So then you had some guys, man, that were, they were posing, with like a pose off. They're saying, yeah, man, my chest is bigger than yours, man. Look at my arms, man. My arms are larger than yours, man. My chest and this, that, and the third. So they started asking. So when they were doing all the competing and everything, man, then I came up with the fact that, hey, look, man, we all work out together and we're doing it for a purpose, the whole 9 yards, man. So we need to tell each other where our weaknesses are, where our strengths are. what's our best attribute in terms of working out our best body part. I know some of y'all gonna get weird with that shit, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not talking about all parts, but you know. So there were those of us that were somewhat agreed upon that they had the best biceps, and you had those that just had the best arms. Period. You know, the arms all the way, all the way down to the forearm. And you had those that had the best chest. And there were those that had the best calves and the best quads. And then there were those with the best back, right? Neck and traps. So, and abs and what have you, stomach. So, let me show you something. So every morning we get up and we get our group together and we'll get the working out with the weights and everything, doing our thing. Makeshift weights. We didn't have the real weights in the penitentiary where I was. So two of the guys got to arguing, man, about who had the best chest and ab combination. So 2 hour guys, man, get the squawking and arguing about who had the best this, had the best that. So I don't know what made little Joe do this. There's a gay guy that was in the unit, and the gay guy was walking by, and I think he did it out of impulse because that was the most neutral person that was there at that particular time, because we were working out early in the morning and everybody was either gone to work or either they were in school or whatever, so the unit was pretty much half empty. Yeah. What's going on there? All right. So the unit was pretty much empty. So when the gay guy was walking by, little Joe says, I can't think of his name right now, man. But anyway, he said, hey, guy. He said, man, you got a minute? He said, come here. So the guy came over, and he said, hey, I want you to give us your honest opinion. So everybody else looking at little Joe said, man, what the hell is you doing, man? What is you doing, man? So so while everybody's standing around, he tells the gay guy, he hold up his, raised up his undershirt and his jersey, and he says, man, between me and him, who has the best abs and chest? And so the gay guy said, well, all right. He said, well, shit, take your shirt off. He's getting the free strip tease. So both Joe and then the other guy was like, he said, man, going on with that bullshit, man. So he said, nah, man, take your shirt off, man. So he didn't take his shirt all the way off. He took his undershirt and he pulled it over his head and behind his back to where it was just over his shoulders. And then he had it over his head, behind his back, and he just held up his arms like this. And Joe pretty much did the same thing, and they both sucking their stomach in a while, to make the stomach muscles ripple. So this is what they're doing. And the gay guy that put his head to his cheek, and he's getting the eye full, man. He's looking left, he's looking right, and he wore glasses, so he put his glasses down, and he pointed at Joe's. No. I'm sorry, I apologize. He pointed at the other guy against Joe. So Joe said, what? And the guy said, his better than yours. Joe got pissed. Joe started cursing the gay guy out, calling him all kind of derogatory names, and then told him, man, get the fuck. And then he kicked at the guy, and then the guy ran on down the stairs. So all of us started laughing, and I made the comment. I said, Joe, I said, man, you stopped that guy and you asked him who had the better abs. So when he give you what it was his honest opinion, you get pissed off. Man, I said, you realize that guy was gay, right? And he thought about that. He said, oh man. I said, damn. I said, dog. I said, come on now, is this something we need to know? So he and all of us worked out together. You don't know what lurks deep down inside a man's mind, but I can tell you this. It wasn't planned for him to select this guy and vote him as the one that was going to choose a judge, put it that way. He didn't know. It was just something that just happened in the moment. But my point is this, going back to the kid in school that's not getting any gifts. Joe is a man. Joe, for all intent and purposes, for all of us know, was a heterosexual man. He wasn't into homosexuals. But he chose that, and I know many of you are going to say, well, how do you know, Tone? Well, just put it for sake of this presentation right here, take it that we know him better than you. All right, let's just say that. Now, maybe we didn't know him better than God, but I know that wasn't planned. So the bottom line is, Joe got angry because of this other guy's choices, and he wasn't selected. So he felt left out. And no matter how that looked, so we didn't tease him too much. We didn't razz him too long because, many guys were homophobic and many guys were closet homosexuals. So, and a lot of people don't like to be razzed that way or teased that way. So we didn't want to tease Joe and the whole bit, so we left that alone. But my point is, he felt just as that kid would feel. He felt left out. I don't care what the overall picture is. You got caught up in that moment. And your child is sitting in that class, expressing to the entire class, I'm not into Christmas. But yet everybody's getting gifts and it seems like they're getting rewards or they're getting something for nothing. And he's feeling left out. I bet there's a lot of, you probably have parents today that goes overboard with Christmas because their parents probably were saying back in the day, we don't celebrate Christmas. Maybe they were too poor. But even with the ones that were poor, they would still try to acknowledge Christmas, man. Many people got in debt. They would work the entire year to try and save to buy their kids a gift for Christmas. Right? Now, they say let us not forget the reason for the season. There's nothing wrong with teaching both. Let that be the reward, but let them know the true meaning of Christmas. Let them know the true value of Christmas. Let them know about all the other hocus pocus things. But let's not deny them the gift of giving. All right? And there are many other things that are so wonderful when it comes to that, man. But I tell you, I had a wonderful time, and it was also nostalgic. It was reflective. There were many things revealed. There was some crying that was done. There was plenty of rejoicing. And I'm just going to tell you a little story again about my family. Man, my brother, this is my younger brother, and we had always been very, very close. But then something happened, and it happened during the period when my mother passed away, And my mother passed away during the Christmas holidays, in the Christmas week of 1994. So that put a blemish on Christmas and everything after I got older, right? So, you know, in every family, man, there are secrets, there are lies, there's manipulation that goes on. And it happens in every family. I don't care how close you are. And it doesn't necessarily have to be amongst the siblings. But in families, we always have those. We have one side of the family that's jealous of the other side. We have one side of the family that's trying to emulate the family on the other side. And, you know, we can argue, bitch, and whine all year. But when it's time to come together for family reunions and things like that, you put a lot of that shit aside. Funerals, or weddings, or births, whatever, right? So, my mind was so twisted when my mom passed away. And, you know, someone shared something with me at that particular time, basically saying that my brother was in violation, let's just put it that way, without getting too much in his business. But when they told me that, it was just a knee-jerk reaction from me. And my father had already passed on. My second brother, to me, had passed on. And now my mother, right? So our family was splintered. There's nobody left but my brother and my sister and I, my brother that I visited. And someone passed on this information to me, and I just had a knee-jerk reaction. And I reacted, and I overreacted. And needless to say, it splintered my brothers and I relationship. Right? And you know, my brothers and I, we had sort of an empire going when we all worked together. And we did it well. And we looked out for one another. We defended one another. So now keep in mind, losing my brother and my mother, and then that was shared with me, I was pissed. So I cut this brother off, right? And he was hurt. He was hurt. But I didn't care. I felt like I was defending or righting whatever this person had told me that was wrong. And ladies and gentlemen, I went maybe 15 years not communicating with my brother, right? And but now here's the thing. I went 15 years. Wow, did you see that? Excuse me a sec. All right, we're gonna lie that there for a minute. I went 15 years not communicating with my brother. And part of it is for various reasons, but one, because I was incarcerated. And I could have reached out to him and gotten his number at that particular time, but that was already 10 years. And then Katrina hit, And when Katrina hit, I definitely had no way of reaching them because I didn't know where they were. I didn't know if he and his family were saved, if they were alive. I didn't know anything. So I asked a few people, and they wasn't sure because they didn't know where he had landed once Katrina hit, and it was over. They didn't know if they survived, put it that way. So anyway, the bottom line is, I just didn't know how to reach them. And now, I've had 15 long years to think about what was said to me. And yet there was no one else in the family that was feeling as I was feeling. And I felt a certain kind of way. I felt that something was missing. And see, keep in mind, my mother was on life support. And I was given the unenviable honor of being the one to make this decision to have her disconnected. But we agreed upon it. It was democratic. And we all got together. The doctors explained to me, what it looks like, what that would look like if she was disconnected, the whole bit. So after he articulated that to me, I translated it to many of my family members. And if you come from a family like I came from, there was a few that were there that were educated, right? And they were older. Some were older. But then there were those that was there, man, and even though they was older, man, they was ignorant as shit, man. They didn't give a shit, man. They was cursing the doctor out the whole nine. And I get that. But at some point, let's see what he's talking about. So after he explained it to us, it made sense. And I articulated it to the family, so the family agreed, let's end the suffering. So now, the same person that admitted to me that my brother was in violation, they told me that the rest of the family blamed me for my mother's death. Man. So it was a knee-jerk reaction. And it was too many of us to call and curse out and the whole 9 yards. So what did I do? I separated myself from everybody. So I went all those years, man, without communicating with any of my other family members. But now, on this long period, I had to think. Now, keep in mind, I'm going through situations where I'm incarcerated. It's a lie. They've given me 4 life sentences. So, on top of all of that, I'm not getting the proper help that I needed from attorneys. But after I settled in, you never get used to it. But after I settled in and I found my way and I was able to function, I had time to reflect. I had time to think. And anybody that tells you that medication is a bunch of that meditation is a bunch of bullshit. I said medication. Anybody that tells you that meditation is a bunch of bullshit, how the Irish say it's just a bunch of malarkey. If anyone ever tells you that, man, they're lying. So when you slow things down and you reflect on it and you meditate on it, it starts to reveal things to you. It starts to make sense out of the nonsensical, if that's a word. And I started realizing that even had my brother done this, what they said, why is no one else reacting this way towards him? then if everyone felt that I violated, if everyone felt that I had violated by making the decision to have my mom taken off life support, then why is this person the only one telling me that? How come I didn't try and find out from anybody else? Ladies and gentlemen, I was afraid too, because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear a second person say it, to be honest with you. I don't know what my reaction would have been. Keep in mind, I'm born on my mother's birthday. So it was very, very, very hard for me. Right? But moving on, I had all this time to think about this, man, the whole nine. So now, let's fast forward. One day I get called for mail. And every evening, the unit officer will call the mail. The mail will come in, he'll go in the mail sack, everybody will gather around, and he'll pass out the mail. He'll call your name. So he called my name. I had maybe 4 or 5 letters. And lo and behold, I had two of those envelopes. 2 of those envelopes were from my brother. And I couldn't remember. How you doing? Happy holidays to you. All right, so I was nervous. I was in shock. I couldn't wait to run back to my cell to bust this. And I put the towel up, because at the time I was single cell. I put the towel up over my door. And everyone knew not to, when your towel is up like that, that's like a do not disturb sign. So nobody came to my cell. And I had my jazz on. I turned that off. I got my fingernail file, man, and I popped open the card first. I opened the card, and it was a picture of my brother and his family. I had a niece that I'd never met. Right? Younger niece. So I stared at the picture, man. I stared at him, his wife, my niece. I stared at them for the longest time, man. And then finally I opened the letter. When I opened the letter, man, hey, my brother greeted me, man, in that letter as though we had never had that rift, as though we've never lost our mother and brother, as though he had never gone through what he'd gone through financially because of me, and as though the storm just came through and then it was over. So my phone camera went out for a minute, waiting for it to come back on. So my brother said, "You now have my address. This is my phone number." He said, "Write me." He said, "But you can give me a call if you like, if you can. Here's my number." I just started trembling, man. I hadn't talked to this brother. I missed him every day for 15 years. But I hadn't talked to this brother or anything. And there was rarely a day that went by that I didn't think about him, whenever I didn't have all this other stuff going on in my life trying to get free. But I missed my brother. Okay? And so I missed my brother. And we're going to take a pause. Hold that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, this is real time. Neighbor. Yeah, I'm doing a live podcast, so just come and grab it. Merry Christmas to you. One day, I'll go to the cans. I'll let you know if you can see.
Oh, yes, about that time. Well, I'm off on Fridays. Any other day, so I get off I get off at 4.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll try and schedule it for Friday.
I can just put it in and go forward.
There you go.
Thank you.
Put it in. The instructions are, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me for just a second. You can put it. You can apply it daily. You know, it's going to be kind of hard, but you can moisten it like this, or you can run some hot water on the jar, and it'll soften. It'll be like oil, and then you can kind of sheen it. It's good for psoriasis, eczema, and alopecia. Right? You can put it like if you have crow's feet. It tightens the skin. You put it for smile lines. You know, your feet, if they're dry, cracking, the whole thing. So it's good for all. Yeah, it's good for all of that.
Thank you, Mr.
All right?
Yes.
No, thank you, and thank you for being patient.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes, sir.
And I hope you enjoy it. Hey, don't worry about the coffee smell. That tells you it's 100% pure.
Okay.
All right?
You know, coffee is good too, though.
Absolutely it is.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes.
I thank you, all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. It's real time. Good tidings, as I said, gifts. They're important. You see how people react to it. But at any rate, my brother act like, man, we had never had a rift. So who am I not to forgive him? So we stayed in communication. My brother wrote me at least maybe twice a month. My brother loves to write. Just like me, he loves to read. He has an excellent penmanship. I love seeing it. And then a niece that I never met, that was a baby at the time, writing me. And at some point, she scolded me. She said, hey, you know, why are you in jail, huh? You know what I mean? And usually people that are in jail, you know, pretty much what she said is where there's smoke, there's fire. But I could not articulate that to her at a level that she would have understood at that time, or that I would understand. You know, because kids can understand whatever it is that you give them in their own way, but it won't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be right. You're just giving them an answer. You're not leaving it void, if you will. So needless to say, my brother came back in my life. When I got clemency, I shared that with them many years later. My brother was overjoyed. He was elated. And, you know, they had taken up a homestead in another city. And they were doing okay. They were doing pretty good. You know, they lost everything during the storm. And now that set my brother back even further than I had set him back. Right? But he was still happy every time I talked to him. Why? Because he had the love of family. Okay? And now he had me back. So when I did get clemency, and when I came home, the first weekend I was home, my brother was here to see me. Came with his family, with his son and his grandbaby, by his son and his wife, and they all came to visit. And we just rejoiced. We talked, we laughed, he cooked, we ate. Hated to see him leave. And we spent all that time and we never talked about what was that rift, what was that void between us. We never talked about it. So that was 5 years ago. Well, my brother been back to visit me again with his family. We had a wonderful time. And but when he came like that, we didn't get a chance to really be alone and talk the whole bit. So this Thanksgiving, I went to visit, right? And we approached some of those subject matters, but we only scratched the surface, and we didn't get to the crux of it. We didn't dive deep. We just sort of skimmed across the pool. So, on this visit, I decided to open up about my feelings. And I did. Because in that entire scenario, there were things that were missing. There were pieces that was missing. There were too many holes. So I asked other questions, indirect. And it gave me the answers that I needed directly. And I realized that I spent all that time separated from my family and causing some hurt there as well, not knowing that he was dealing with a lot of the same thing. And we opened up and we shared that, we cried, we hugged, we acknowledged that we love each other. And we realized where this misinformation came from and why. And I tell you, man, it was like 100 pounds that were lifted from my shoulder. And it made me feel complete. I had my family back. We can't always explain why people do some of the things that they do to hurt others and lie a whole bit. But it happens. And it happens all over the universe. It doesn't matter your social status in society. People do these things. I don't want to spend time trying to delve into why. I just want to move on after all these years. And to know that he still loved me after the hurt that I brought on to him. All I could ask and wish is that he forgive me. And he did. Right? That was the best Christmas gift that I've had in a long, long time. My niece and I had a long discussion this week, and she didn't believe in therapy, and it was her opinion that whatever it is. Hey, Nick. Hey, how are you? Merry Christmas to you. Yeah. So she was saying that, whatever it is that ails you, because you know yourself better than they do, that you can probably, she didn't say probably, she said that you can solve, excuse me, whatever it is that you're going through, mainly, you know, anything that's dealing with depression or stuff like that. Well, you know, I spent the larger part of my life feeling just as she. And I didn't disagree with her about that feeling because I spent most of my life feeling that way. I felt that I could psychoanalyze and come up with the answers. And in many instances I did. So therefore, when you do, and you find yourself playing that part, you say, well, hey, you know what? I'm impacted by that, and I can do a self-analysis, and I can get through whatever it is that ails me. That is that you can until you can't. And after dealing with and going through what I've been going through, and through my medical provider, they offered mental sessions a whole bit, right? Oh, just like dental, just like with your eyes, they offered to seek mental counseling and what have you for depression, things of that nature. Well, I can't necessarily say that I was depressed, nor am I depressed now. But sometimes you're going through things you don't even know it. It's just like a person would have cancer for so many years and never know. So I had this cancerous deal going on inside of me. And what it was just closing people off. People that loved me, people that I loved. So finally I opened up. And I started undergoing, therapy and counseling. And in the beginning it was just like I was going through what my niece said. I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm talking to the doctor. I'm answering questions that he would give, and I would every now and then I'd throw him a curveball. It's just like they would do when they give you if you've ever taken a lie detector test. If you ever take the truth analysis, man, they're gonna throw some bullshit questions in there that they already know the answers to, and they already know that it's a lie. They'll ask you a question: have you ever gone to the moon? And if you're like me, you say, yeah, several times. Well, now that's a double-edged sword. That's tricky, because they know that it's a lie and you've never gone to the moon, but yet you're answering that you did. So now they say something's wrong with you because we know you didn't go to no damn moon. So they play these kind of games with us. So I was playing games, and it was a jousting match of the wits. I'm dealing with the counselor, with the therapist, psychiatrist actually. He has about damn near 8 different degrees, man. Literally. Smart man. Shout out to Dr. Michaels. Dr. Michaels is a brilliant man. He's very spiritual and everything. Well, we would joust, the doctor and I. And there were times after I come down off the bullshit, and there were times that the doctor would ask hard questions. He would ask questions that you now need to be careful how you answer it, because you don't want to be deemed a lunatic when you're playing one. I've done that before, and it classified me wrong, and it sent me to a place where I should not have gone. And I had to literally file a motion to the courts to be removed from that institution, right? And the doctor didn't write it up saying that I was crazy. he wrote it up saying that I was manipulative, and that I was playing psychological games. So there's a place for you. Believe it or not, there's a place for you. So anyway, I had to deal with that. So I had to overcome that. And after I stopped playing the games with the doctor, and I'm not going to say stop playing games, because shit, I may play a game with him this week or next week, because we're not going to have therapy this week. It's holidays. But we talked, and then he'll get quiet and he'll listen, or he'll get quiet and I'm thinking that he's not paying attention. And there were times that I can tell he put his phone on mute, because after I would get finished expressing something, then I would ask a question of acknowledgement. I would say such and such and such, right? Such and such and such, what do you think? Such and such and such, Doc. How does that look? And I would have to wait for him to take the mute off. So I was feeling a certain kind of way about that. But then one time I asked him the question. I said, Doc, I said, oftentimes I can tell you put your phone on mute. Are you truly paying attention to what I'm telling you? And he said, yes. So I asked him about something that had just transpired. And he damn near gave it back to me verbatim. So I realized that he was truly paying attention. And let me tell you what he's good for. He was good for listening and having you open up. Having you open up about whatever may be concerning you or bothering you. And you will enter into dialogue. See, it's very rare to do that with someone that knows you, or you're already acquainted with, because they're going to give some bullshit responses or anecdotes, or they're going to joke and they don't want to hear that bullshit because it might be depressing them, or it's just that they're not going to listen. They're going to be distracted, and they're going to distract you. So oftentimes you don't want to open up about things like that. So I realized that they're very good, and they have a technique, and it's a trained technique. Because see, if you go on and on like that, uninterrupted, 75% of everything that you said is going to be true. And you might have 25% of bullshit mixed up in there, right? Whether he gets it or not, you realize that you told the truth. So now they're going to make that assessment, right? And now you realize that, damn, what he's saying that you need to do as a result of what you're going through, that shit might work. So he gives me all sorts of links and videos to watch, different audio therapy that he may have given at a symposium or what have you, all over in Europe. And I listen to these things, and not all of it applies to me, but then I can see how this shit works. And see, and if you're smart enough, you recognize that it does. So to my niece and many of us that are out there that feel that we can analyze ourselves, you can only do it to a degree. And at some point, you're going to need some professional advice. And for us as blacks, many of us couldn't afford to seek therapy. And then it was taboo amongst us. because you didn't want to let the white man know. 9 times out of 10, the psychiatrist was going to be white at that time. Now you have so many blacks, and that have taken on this endeavor of mental illness amongst blacks. We have a lot to be disturbed about. Many of us are damaged, just from what this country has placed on us, society, what it has placed on us, what we have placed on each other, right? And I tell you, even that is a revelation. And see, oftentimes God puts people in your life for that season. And when they're in your life for that season, there's also a reason. And when these people come into your life, and it can only be for a small time, and it can be disruptive. But because of the disturbance that they've caused you, it has allowed you to look at things from a different perspective, right? And I can honestly admit that, there are things that affect me that never affected me before. There are things that I am self-conscious about that I never was self-conscious before. There are things that I feel insecure about that I never felt insecure about before. There are things that I am distrusting about that I've never been distrusting about before. There are things that I'm hard-lined about that I've never been hard-lined about before. There are things that I tolerate now and I deal with and I go through that I would have never allowed before. So you see, I'm off balance. And when you have people in your life that's constantly spewing negativity, but they claim that they love you, that can be off-putting. And there are people that you can have in your life that you love, but yet you don't like them very well. That's puzzling. That is a conundrum. And I remember Richard Pryor was joking about things like this many, many years ago. And he said, man, I'm in love with a bitch I can't stand. And when you hear that, it sounds like parody, right? That is until you experience it. And when you experience it, you say, oh, man, that's what he was talking about. No. I'm like this, right? If you can't say or do anything to help someone, don't do or say anything that would hurt them. Just move on, right? And I have people that's just meeting me, and they'll say, you're a narcissist. And I think that when they say that, when they say it often enough, you have a tendency to want to believe that. So I even took that to the doctor, and I said, hey, doc, give me the definition, give me the medical terms and the medical elements of a narcissist. And he gave them to me, maybe 8 different categories, what have you, right? And out of the 8 different categories, I may have fit one. So by his terminology and everything, I'm not a narcissist. People who are very, very confident can be confused and accused of being a narcissist. A lot of these things get confused and, get confused with arrogance and what have you. But lots of times a person is just really trying to stay in their foundation and strengthen their faith. And when other people can't see that and they don't understand, then they have a tendency they're going to give it a clinical diagnosis that this is what it is. But to hear someone always say this about you, it starts you to questioning yourself. And see, I've never been one to do that. I'm living a different life now. And many, many years back, I would say, man, I'm not making no New Year's resolution, the whole bit. See, now I don't wait for the New Year's. It's about maybe once or twice a week, man, I'm making a resolution. And see, growth is not always about taking on things. Sometimes growth is about eliminating shit as well. Stop doing this. Stop eating that. Stop associating with this. Stop believing in that. Stop allowing this to affect you. Stop associating or allowing certain people to associate with you. So see, growth don't always come by adding. Growth comes by eliminating as well, cleaning your closet, if you will. So this is the cleansing season. Cutting ties with everything and everyone that's negative. Period. Trust me, you'll get over it. See, that has become so easy for me until sometimes I don't trust it. Sometimes I say, man, maybe I'm not being fair. But I realize that you can sift through all the bullshit when you've gone through what I've gone through. And you realize that when you have somebody in your life that you think you can't live without or you can't do without, when you've gone through what I've gone through, you realize that you can just about live with and survive with anything or without anything. Right? And I've been accused lately of only having people around me that are yes people. That couldn't be further from the truth. I've always been suspicious of anyone that always agreed with me. I've always been suspicious of that. I have a tendency not to trust their opinion. not let that affect me moving forward. But as it stands today, moving forward, anything or anyone that causes me grief, anything that I have to sit back and ponder and debate about and trying to figure it out, if the puzzle piece don't fit, man, it doesn't belong there. It's just as simple as that. Okay? So I don't know who this may touch. I don't know who life or whose ear this may enter. But if you're dealing with anything like that I've just given you, right now do some inventory. Clean your closets. Anybody that's bringing you down, man, anybody that's holding you back, anybody that doesn't believe in you, rid your life of them. Any places that you may hang out, venture, rid your life of it. Discontinue it. Really. Find something else to do. Don't look for no yes men. Just accept what the Most High presents to you. And just understand that if they're in your life for a divine reason, everything's working out. Everything will work itself out. You don't have to do no hard laboring mentally trying to figure that shit out, because it's clustering your mind and it's preventing you from growing in other areas. I'm damn near 70 years old, man, and I don't know if many of you have been watching social media, and you'll see that Denzel Washington was just baptized for the first time, and he just became an ordained minister, right, at the age of 70. That's a milestone in his life. And here's a guy that we look at, we love. Many of us want to emulate him. We look at, he has the perfect life. But yet he stated in one of his ministry, one of his, what do they call it? His preaching or teaching. He stated that though it appears that he has everything, the most trusted and valuable thing that he has is his significant other, his wife. She has been his rock. We've watched this man for over 20 plus years, 30 years as an actor. And it's like he can't make a bad movie. But yet he's doing all of this while he's tormented inside, while he's dealing with his demons. He said one was alcoholism. We don't know the other. We don't know the rest. Sometimes it could be gambling. Sometimes it could be just looking at women. Sometimes it could be just hanging out with bad people. People that we know are bad, and they're bad for us. So we don't know what his ordeals were. But he stated some of them. And he said that at the age of 70, it was time. It was time for him to dedicate his life to Christ. And this is someone that we admire. Some folks envy. Many of us look up to. Because he was the model, or he is the model of character and good deeds. But just because you see someone that does things real good and they have great character, it doesn't mean that they're going through turmoil. It doesn't mean that they're going through issues. It doesn't mean that they don't have demons. So if he can go through that transition, that transformation, then why not us? Why not me? I'm not saying I'm going to get baptized anytime soon. But that peace that he seems to have found, we should want that. We should want that for us and all the ones that we love. I don't want to be around someone that I don't care about, and all I do is spend time telling them what their faults are, telling them about their character, telling them about how no good they are. If they feel that way, why are they there? Move on, right? So in the event they don't move on, then you do the deeds for them. You do the bidding. You move on. And I think the greatest cure for that, the greatest messenger for that is silence. I think that silence is loud. And I think this is how it should be given. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my time for the day. I'm just about finished with my cigar. I hope that you guys have a very pleasant, prosperous, peaceful New Year's, filled with health, love, and warmth. Peace.